Welcome to the ultimate catalog of every service pistol and revolver issued during the Great War, commonly known as World War I. In the brutal trench conflicts of this global struggle, a reliable sidearm was often a soldier's last line of defense. Today, we will examine the definitive specifications and history behind the short arms carried by the major combatant nations. German Empire first. We have the Luger P08, the standard issue sidearm of the German Empire. It chambered the iconic 9mm parabellum cartridge and operated via a unique toggle lock action. This finely machined pistol was incredibly accurate, but required meticulous maintenance to function reliably in the muddy trenches. German officers and stormtroopers prized its pointing characteristics during close-quarters combat. Production scaled massively to meet the insatiable demands of the front lines. Next, we have the Mauser C96, instantly recognizable by its internal box magazine in front of the trigger. Originally chambered in 7.63mm, the military later contracted the famous Red 9 variant. This special version fired the standard 9mm ammunition to simplify logistics across the German forces. A large red number 9 was carved into the grip panels to prevent soldiers from loading the wrong caliber. It provided exceptional range and velocity for a hand weapon of its era. Let us continue with the Mauser Model 1914, a compact sidearm widely distributed to German non-commissioned officers. This straight blowback pistol fired the 7.65mm Browning cartridge. It was heavily relied upon by support troops and rear echelon personnel, who did not require a full-sized combat handgun. The design featured a striker-fired mechanism and a clever slide-hold-open device. Hundreds of thousands were pressed into service as the war rapidly depleted existing pistol stockpiles. Moving on to the Reichsrevolver models 1879 and 1883. These heavy, antiquated revolvers fired a robust 10.6mm cartridge. To bridge severe equipment shortages, the German military pulled these massive handguns out of deep storage. They lacked an ejector rod, meaning soldiers had to push empty casings out with a separate hand tool. Despite their obsolescence, they proved ruggedly dependable in the harsh conditions of trench warfare. Next on the list is the Drace Model 1907, designed by Louis Schmeisser. Firing the 7.65mm cartridge, it served as a major secondary issue weapon. Transition units and support formations utilized this unusually shaped blowback pistol extensively. Its most distinctive visual feature was the heavy, flat-sided slide and exposed barrel-retaining collar. It provided a necessary stopgap measure to keep German soldiers armed as the conflict dragged on. For our next item, we have the Walther Model 4. The German military purchased over 250,000 of these compact pistols. Chambered in 7.65mm, it featured a distinctive left side ejection port. The barrel doubled as the guide rod for the recoil spring, creating a streamlined profile. It became highly popular among officers for its reliability and relatively light weight. Next, we have the Sauer Model 1913, another heavily utilized secondary pistol. This high-quality weapon also chambered the standard 7.65mm ammunition. Officers and non-commissioned officers appreciated its exceptional machining and smooth operation. The design utilized a unique tubular slide and a separate breech block mechanism. Its commercial success seamlessly translated into vital wartime military service. Let us continue with the Valhalla family of pistols, which also included the Leonhardt and Stende variants. These were simple, robust blowback pistols produced under secondary military contracts to fulfill desperate procurement needs. Firing the ubiquitous 7.65mm cartridge, they featured a barrel that was pinned directly to the frame. The The utilitarian design focused entirely on ease of manufacturing rather than aesthetic refinement. They served reliably in the hands of rear guard troops throughout the later stages of the war. Concluding the German list, we have the Langenhen Model 1914. This obscure sidearm was produced specifically to fulfill military contracts during the extreme shortages of the era. It fired the 7.65mm round and utilized an unusual breech block secured by a simple screw. This design flaw meant that if the screw loosened, the heavy breech block could theoretically strike the shooter upon firing. Nevertheless, the Imperial German Army acquired tens of thousands to keep their forces equipped. France Model 1892. First for France, we have the Model 1892, manufactured at Saint-Étienne. This primary service revolver fired an 8mm French ordnance cartridge. It featured a cylinder that swung out to the right side, which was highly unusual compared to contemporary designs. While beautifully manufactured, the 8mm round was severely underpowered for frontline combat. Still, it remained the standard sidearm for French officers and cavalry throughout the entire war. Next, we have the Model 1873, pulled directly from reserve armories. This robust weapon chambered a massive 11mm black powder cartridge. The French military reissued these antiquated revolvers to artillerymen, trench raiders, and support units. It was incredibly heavy and slow to reload due to its loading gate system. However, its sheer reliability in the mud made it a surprisingly effective close combat tool. Let us continue with the Ruby-type pistol, arguably the most numerous French sidearm of the conflict. Facing catastrophic weapon shortages, France contracted dozens of Spanish manufacturers to produce this simple sidearm. Based loosely on Browning designs, it fired the 7.65mm cartridge from a 9-round magazine. Quality varied wildly depending on the specific Spanish factory that machined the parts. It ultimately armed hundreds of thousands of French soldiers with a functional, rapid-fire weapon. Next on the French list is the Star Model 1914. This was another large Spanish contract pistol ordered by the desperate French military apparatus. It also fired the standard 7.65mm cartridge, but featured a slightly different internal mechanism than the Ruby. Its design incorporated elements of the Mannlicher pistols, offering a more refined grip angle. It provided reliable service and helped stabilize the severe small arms deficit facing the French Republic. Moving on to the Savage Model 1907. France purchased approximately 40,000 units of this uniquely designed pistol from the United States. Chambered in .32 automatic Colt pistol, it featured a 10-round double-stack magazine. The firing mechanism utilized a delayed blowback system, which the company heavily advertised as revolutionary. French officers favored it for its high capacity and remarkably compact frame. Rounding out the French arsenal, we have the Colt Model 1892 and Smith & Wesson Model 1899. France acquired small quantities of these commercial revolvers from the United States early in the conflict. They were chambered in the .38 caliber class, offering moderate stopping power. These elegant double-action revolvers were typically issued to specialist troops and naval personnel. They represented a tiny fraction of French sidearms, but filled crucial localized shortages. British Empire and Commonwealth starting the British catalog, we have the legendary Webley Mk VI. This massive top-break revolver was the primary service sidearm of the British Empire. It fired the heavy 455 Webley cartridge, renowned for its incredible stopping power. The break-open action allowed for extremely rapid ejection and reloading using speed loaders. It is widely considered one of the finest combat revolvers ever deployed in a major conflict. Next, we have the Webley Marks IV and V. These older iterations of the famous top brake design were kept in frontline service to maintain troop supply. They also fired the commanding 455 caliber ammunition. While possessing slightly different barrel profiles and grip shapes, their manual of arms was identical to the newer Mark VI. They proved just as lethal and reliable in the muddy, confined spaces of trench warfare. Let us continue with the Webley and Scott self-loading Mark I. This distinctively blocky semi-automatic pistol was adopted primarily by the Royal Navy and the Royal Flying Corps. It chambered a specialized 455 automatic cartridge designed to match revolver ballistics. The recoil-operated mechanism was robust, but the pistol itself was incredibly heavy and awkward to handle. Despite its clumsy ergonomics, it represented Britain's early foray into auto-loading military handguns. Moving on, we have the Colt New Service Revolver. The British government contracted thousands of these large-frame revolvers to act as a vital gap filler. To simplify logistics, Colt specifically chambered them in the standard British 455 Webley caliber. These solid-frame, swing-out cylinder revolvers were exceptionally strong and durable. British officers and trench raiders highly valued their reliability and devastating terminal ballistics. Next, we examine the Smith & Wesson Model 1917 British contract revolver. Similar to the Colt purchases, these were acquired from the United States to arm British personnel. They were factory chambered for the heavy 455 Webley service round. The smooth double-action trigger pull made them excellent weapons for rapid, close-quarters engagements. They stood side by side with the native Webley designs until the armistice was signed. Finishing the British section, we have the iconic Colt Model 1911. The United Kingdom purchased roughly 13,000 of these superb semi-automatic pistols for the Royal Air Force and Royal Navy. Uniquely, these specific pistols were chambered for the British 455 automatic cartridge instead of the standard American round. This ensured logistical harmony with the Webley and Scott auto-loaders already in naval service. It provided British aviators with a slim, powerful, and utterly reliable self-defense weapon. United States first for the United States, we have the legendary Colt Model 1911. This was the primary service semi-automatic pistol for the American Expeditionary Forces. Designed by John Moses Browning, it fired the heavy .45 automatic Colt pistol cartridge. Its short recoil system and rugged single-action trigger made it the gold standard for military handguns. American doughboys used its unparalleled stopping power to clear enemy trenches with devastating efficiency. Next, we have the Colt and Smith & Wesson Models 1917 revolvers. As the United States rapidly expanded its military, production of the 1911 could not keep pace with demand. The government contracted these two major manufacturers to produce large-frame revolvers chambered in the standard .45 auto cartridge. Soldiers utilized half-moon clips to quickly load the rimless ammunition into the revolver cylinders. These served as the standard substitute sidearms, offering immense firepower when auto-loaders were unavailable. Let us continue with the Colt Pocket hammerless models of 1903 and 1908. These sleek, compact pistols were chambered in .32 and .300 and .80 automatic respectively. The American military issued them primarily to general officers, couriers, and military police. The enclosed hammer design prevented the weapon from snagging on uniforms when drawn quickly. They offered excellent concealment and reliability for personnel who did not require a frontline combat weapon. To conclude the American list, we look at the Colt New Service Revolver in its original chambering. The military pulled older stocks of these massive revolvers from storage, chambered in the powerful .45 Colt cartridge. These had been previously utilized during the Philippine-American conflict and were pressed back into action. They were immensely strong, double-action weapons capable of enduring severe abuse. Their heavy lead bullets provided tremendous knockdown power during savage, close-range encounters. Russian Nagant Model 1895. Starting the Russian arsenal, we have the Nagant Model 1895. This primary service revolver fired a unique 7.62 by 38mm rimmed cartridge. Its most famous feature was the gas seal mechanism, where the cylinder moved forward to seal the barrel gap upon firing. This complex system slightly boosted muzzle velocity, but resulted in a brutally heavy double-action trigger pull. It served the Imperial Army through the Great War and would continue to see heavy use for decades. Next, we have the Mauser C96, widely utilized by Russian forces. The Imperial Army purchased large numbers of the standard models, alongside the compact variant commonly known as the Bolo. Firing the high-velocity 7.63mm cartridge, it offered incredible range for a handgun. It became a highly sought-after status symbol among Russian officers and cavalry units. Its characteristic wooden holster, which doubled as a shoulder stock, made it a devastatingly effective carbine. Let us continue with the Colt Model 1911 in Russian service. The desperately under-equipped Imperial government acquired approximately 50,000 of these pistols via British financial contracts. They were chambered in the standard American .45 caliber auto cartridge. The Russians stamped English order in Cyrillic on the frames to designate their origin. These powerful automatics provided a massive tactical advantage to the elite Russian assault troops who carried them. Finishing the Russian sidearms, we have the Fabrique Nationale Model 1903. Originally purchased before the war for Russian police forces, severe shortages forced these weapons to the front lines. They fired the 9mm Browning long cartridge, utilizing a simple but robust blowback action. The design was exceptionally reliable and featured a concealed hammer for a smooth profile. It provided excellent service for officers navigating the sprawling, chaotic Eastern Front. Austria-Hungary. First for Austria-Hungary, we have the Rothsteyer Model 1907. This distinctive cavalry pistol fired an 8mm proprietary cartridge. It featured a locked breech mechanism and was reloaded via stripper clips from the top. The striker-fired system included a very heavy trigger pull, specifically designed to prevent accidental discharges by horseback riders. It was the first semi-automatic pistol adopted by a major land army for a frontline force. Next, we have the Steyr Model 1912, also known as the Steyr Hahn. This elegant weapon served as the primary infantry pistol, firing the powerful 9mm Steyr cartridge. Like the Rothsteyer, it utilized a fixed internal magazine loaded from the top with stripper clips. It operated via a rotating barrel locking mechanism, which was incredibly strong and reliable. Austro-Hungarian officers favored its balance, accuracy, and robust construction during grueling alpine combat. Let us continue with the Rast and Gasser Model 1898. This was the standard issue service revolver of the Empire, firing an 8mm cartridge. It featured an 8-round cylinder loaded through a right side gate, with spent casings ejected individually via an extractor rod. The double-action trigger was smooth, but the loading process was dangerously slow under fire. Despite its antiquated design, its solid frame construction ensured it survived the harshest battlefield conditions. Moving on to the Frommer Stop, a highly unusual Hungarian-issued pistol. It chambered a proprietary high-velocity version of the 7.65mm cartridge. The action utilized a wildly complex long recoil system, which was entirely unique for a small caliber handgun. While beautifully machined, the intricate mechanism was prone to fouling in trench mud. It remained heavily utilized by Hungarian defensive units, who appreciated its light weight and low recoil. Concluding the Austro-Hungarian list, we have the Steyr Pieper models 1908 and 1909. These were small blowback pistols chambered in 7.65 and 6.35 mm respectively. They featured a unique tip-up barrel which allowed the user to load a round directly into the chamber without racking the slide. These were primarily secondary issue weapons or personal purchases by officers. They served admirably as discreet, lightweight backup guns throughout the global conflict. Italy beginning the Italian catalog, we have the Bodio model 1889. This standard issue revolver chambered a hefty 10.35 mm ordnance round. It was produced in two distinct versions, one with a folding trigger for enlisted troops and one with a trigger guard for officers. The robust, solid frame design was essentially immune to the rugged conditions of the Italian front. It remained incredibly popular among the fiercely brave Italian assault troops. Next, we have the Glicenti model 1910, Italy's primary semi-automatic pistol. It fired a 9mm Glicenti cartridge, which had identical dimensions to the 9mm Parabellum, but was loaded to a significantly lower pressure. The pistol featured a complex locked breech design, with a removable side plate that critically weakened the frame. If a soldier accidentally loaded German ammunition, the gun could catastrophically explode. Despite this fatal flaw, it was beautifully finished and well balanced. Finally, we conclude with the Beretta model 1915. Designed to replace the fragile Glicenti, this robust blowback pistol also fired the lower pressure 9mm Glicenti cartridge. It featured the iconic open-top slide that would become the permanent trademark of all future Beretta pistols. The simplified blowback action proved vastly superior and significantly safer than its predecessor. Its outstanding reliability in the harsh alpine warfare established the Beretta legacy that endures to this day.